What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is super exciting because went ahead and got a new bike to start working on as the next build series on this channel. So I just got back from picking up this 2006 YZ250 right here, and I got it for a really good price. So let's go over pretty much all the components on here and what we're gonna do to the bike. Alright guys, so I was able to get this bike for a really good price, and that's because it does have a good amount of things wrong on it that we'll have to fix as part of this build here. You can see we'll start on the suspension here. Obviously we got leaky seals here on the forks, allowing the oil to come down there. Here on the brake discs, they are probably due to be changed. They're pretty worn. One in the rear actually looks a little bit, when you spin the rear tire, wobbles a little bit, so it's probably bent. As far as the engine goes, the bike does start up and run, but it does run a little boggy, and I'll show you guys that here in a minute. And then also the transmission does make some noise when changing gears, and it's really hard to engage a couple of the gears in it. So we'll have to go through that when we work on the engine, probably just go through those gears, see where they're worn out. This is probably a worn out gear, or maybe something with the clutch. I haven't really looked into it yet. As far as the exhaust system goes, we did kind of luck out. We have a FMF gnarly pipe up in the front, and then in the rear we have a FMF shorty pipe. Let's pull that up and see. Yeah, FMF shorty in the rear. But this system's in pretty good shape. You can see it does have a good amount of rust. If you come down here to the front of the engine, there's some good rust in there. But other than that, this pipe is in pretty good shape. Not a ton of dents. So definitely a keeper there. Probably resell this at some point or just keep it as an extra. All right guys, and as far as the plastic goes, up front we have, looks like the 2006 plastics here, the original style at least. And then we have the some ugly old graphics on there. The front fender is actually original too. Then we come back here and it looks like the restyle kit in the rear, at least I'm pretty sure. And then the original plastics in the rear fender. So not sure what's going on. It's kind of a mix of plastics, but that's all good. We're probably going to replace those anyways. But the seat cover here is actually in really good shape, so they must have replaced this at some point. But overall, this bike is in super good condition for the price we got it for. Yeah, we don't know what the engine issues are going to cost. The transmission could be an issue and add up, as well as the bogging noise. I'll have to look into that. Hopefully it's just a clutch issue for the transmission, but we'll have to find all of that out later on. All right guys, well here in a second, I'm gonna show you guys the bike running so you know what I'm talking about, how it sounds pretty boggy. But before I do that, I kind of want to go over with you guys what the goals for the bike are. My main goal for the bike is to get it ready to do some desert races here in Washington State. I would like to do a little bit of enduro riding on it as well, but the main thing is to get it all set up for the desert. Anyways, we're gonna get this bike all torn down to the frame, just like we did on the CR125, and pretty much go through everything. Let's check out the bike running. All right guys, we got the bike all back in on the stand here, ready to get torn down. And as you could see when I was, as you could hear actually when I was revving the bike outside, I was actually going about half or 3/4 throttle, and it just wasn't wanting to rev up. So that could be a couple things, but my guess is it's something with the carburetor here. We're not going to worry about that today as we tear the bike down. We'll get into that as we rebuild stuff later on in the series. Anyways guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy the teardown of this YZ250. Alright guys, when I was taking off the tank, I actually noticed, I couldn't see it before because the line was kind of covering it, but this bike actually has some Boysen reed valves, so that's pretty sweet. Might reuse those if they're in decent shape. Hopefully we can get a new sticker for them. This area of the bike here definitely looks really boring and dirty compared to the Honda when we were done with it. So we're going to get this all livened up in here, looking awesome with some nice performance parts. If you look at the radiators here, I mean, these things look like they were just replaced. Not even like hardly any of the teeth are bent. So really lucked out on these radiators. Definitely going to be able to reuse them. Alright guys, now we're ready to push these bolts out of here. What I've found works well is actually a spoke off a wheel. This is off an old wheel, and then I'll put it in a vise just to bend it so it's completely straight. And then just give it some wax with one of these. But these things are pretty sturdy and they won't do any damage to the bolts. And as you can see, this doesn't actually do any damage to the bolts, so it's got this crowned edge on it, and it kind of fits right into the rounded edge of the bolt here and pushes it out really good. Alright, and then for this swing arm here, obviously our spoke is going to be too big. So I just have some 3/8 rod that I'll use to push this through, and this actually will clip onto the edges there and not, you don't want to get it too big or it'll mess up the outer threads, but cut about 1.5 feet of steel rod, and these will be great to driving these swing arms through because these swing arms do get stuck in there pretty good. Actually, so it looks like this one's just a little bit too small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run upstairs and put a nice weld around the edge here, and hopefully that will make it thick enough to just grab onto here. Okay guys, so I just MIG welded on this and then grounded it out to flatten the end up on it, and now we're just going to hit out the swing arm bolt. Alright guys, so I got the whole rear brake assembly torn off of here. I'm going to leave it all attached as one piece until I start to go through it and rebuild it, just so I know where everything goes and can keep it all in one place and organized. All right, now that we finished pretty much everything for the rear suspension, I got a U-bolt here and I just secured it to the stand so we can go work on the front, because after we take off the wheel and stuff up front, the frame's gonna wanna lean forward. So this will just hold it in place for us. Okay guys, so this here is as far as we're gonna get on the bike for part one. In part two, I'm basically gonna tear this bike down the rest of the way and clean everything up. So if you guys are interested in keeping tabs on the build series and want to see how awesome this bike turns out, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram because I post a lot of content on there before we upload the videos to YouTube. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.